Legislature's Public Health Committee held its first meeting this year, and 3 Connecticut hospitals are a top priority. The owner of Waterbury, Rockville General, and Manchester Hospitals has filed for bankruptcy. Chief Political Reporter Susan Raff is your reporter live tonight in Hartford with details on this and other priorities. Susan.
Stephanie, the fate of these 3 hospitals is really uncertain, but the bottom line is that lawmakers want to take a closer look at those private equity firms, especially when it comes to buying hospitals. They're also focused on reproductive health care and creating more access, and they want to address the health concerns of e-cigarettes and vaping. Waterbury Hospital is the largest Connecticut hospital owned by Prospect Medical Holdings. Earlier this month, Prospect filed for bankruptcy. They also own Rockville General in Vernon and Manchester Memorial. The private equity company is accused of bleeding the hospitals dry and taking hundreds of millions in payouts.
We know that the private equities are focused on making money, and we as a state should make a decision that we do not want private equity to be involved in healthcare.
Private equities are for-profit investment firms. Lawmakers on the Public Health Committee are considering a bill that would restrict private equities from buying hospitals. The solution may be finding another buyer. At one time, Yale New Haven Health was interested.
Reproductive health care, those are possible fixes.
The Public Health Committee, one of the largest legislative committees, also plans to take up reproductive health care.
I do think that you're going to see sort of a reinforcement of women's rights here in the state of Connecticut, and it's already in our statute, but there's people that want to make it a constitutional amendment.
Last year, Connecticut passed laws that allow pharmacists to prescribe and dispense contraceptives. Birth control and Plan B, also known as the morning after pill, are also now available on college campuses. Another priority is aimed at the health effects of nicotine. Lawmakers may add more taxes to the sale of e-cigs and vaping devices. They may also consider more regulations. And lawmakers also unveiled a number of other priorities on their first meeting here in the legislative session of 2025. One of them concerns nursing homes and making sure more emergency devices, those AEDs that we see in many buildings, making sure those are more available. Your chief political reporter, Susan Raff, Channel 3, live in Hartford tonight.
All right, Susan, thank you. Now at 5:30.